This is part 3 of a 3-part podcast.
I'm Edward Norton. No, not that one, the other one, and I love pies. No, not that kind, the other kind. Hermes is an old-school forum packed full of friendly people who occasionally give out a slice of pie. You'll never forget your first slice of pie. It made me feel so good, I had to buy a whole pie so I could share the love. Oh, and there's apples too. Sign up at permies.com to join in the world of homesteading and permaculture, and you too might get a slice of pie.
I think the way that we do every day is radically different from what most people... I mean, like, it's so weird when I go into Missoula and I see the people there, and it just seems like so many people are living such gray lives, and the way that we just do all day every day is so different from the way people live in Missoula, and the way people live in Missoula is generally cooler and awesomer than many other cities I've been in, but it's like it's such a transformation. It's such a different kind of thing. So I don't know. At the very least, it's a bit of an experience.
Yeah. Sure.
So, all right. I want to wrap up a couple things on my little list here. One is the BEL. We've got that whole new thing in the way, and I'm currently talking to some people about, like, should we do a fundraiser for the BEL? And
so the BEL, just for folks who have never heard that acronym, the Bootcamp Experience Log, and so this is where a boot takes a number of pictures, 3 every day, and is posting that on a thread at permies.com, and then that is highlighting what the boot camp is doing. Right. So while I am away, I've subscribed to Stephen's BEL, and so I get an email every day. Stephen has posted to his Bell thread, and I go and I read, oh cool, there are apples in the dehydrator. That's awesome. Look at that. Oh look, they're working on the hydrants. Oh look, they're harvesting. Wow, look at the Gamcod update. And I mean, that's fuel to my fire at home in my regular life of like, wow, look at the shit he's doing. I got to do stuff too. Look at that. That's cool. And I think for all the folks who can't make it out here but love this community, I think the Bell threads are enormous.
I know I enjoy the Bell threads just because I could find out what the fuck is going on. Yeah, and so that I can, give Stephen notes about what I saw and post pictures of, but then also for the other boots posting pictures as well, and I can, give feedback on so many different things. But the BRK used to be when somebody would ring the bell, like they did their 100 posts, then they would say, yeah, I rang the bell. And there'd be like, I don't know, 25, 30 people that'd be like, okay, whenever anybody rings the bell, I'm going to put in $20. And then what happened was obligation is poison, and then those people stopped putting in their $20. And so then we needed to have somebody who would like go and clean up the thread and delete those things because they're not even paying the $20 anymore. The only people that paid out is when they would send like $5,000 and say, like, dole this out at $400 a pop every time somebody rings the bell. And now basically the thing is that, and then those people, it's like, oh, the money ran out, and then they're like, I'm not flush right now, or I don't want to right now, or I'm, let me get back to you, or I forgot about it, or whatever. And it's like, chasing them down months later. It's kind of a yucky thing. And so the BEL is like, okay, how do we remove all the yuck? And so then the idea is that somebody who puts in that $5,000, then every time somebody rings the bell, then 10% is taken out, and it lasts forever. And then, maybe once a year we can do another, fundraiser or something for the BEL to get people to put money in. But then people put money in when they feel like it, and it'll be fun, as opposed to the idea of, like every time somebody rings the bell, then it's an obligation. I said I would give them $20, so I'm gonna. So it's like maybe let's get that up there, and then it's gonna. So basically, right now we are just starting to have conversations about doing a kind of a fund, because we did a server fundraiser. We've been putting Band-Aids and duct tape on the server for 11 years, and our server's kind of old. And then we finally hit a limit that well, let's just and it's like, no, you can't buy anymore. You're at max. What? So now it's like, oh, well, if you get a new server, you can do more. So we did a fundraiser for a new server, and it got funded like real fast, like 48 hours. It was fully funded. So the new server is not in yet. There's a one component that's on back order apparently, and so we're waiting for that. It should be in a couple of weeks. So, but Devika made this software built into Permies to do a fundraiser, and I think it worked really well. It was gobs of fun, and so I'm kind of thinking like maybe we should recycle that and use it for the BEL. So that's the thing is that I think that anybody who's here as a boot and they post those pictures, then people like you can live vicariously and other people can live vicariously. And I think so many people just love that daily fix of a little of this and a little of that kind of a thing. And then on top of that, the boots, I remember one time the payout was $3,500. Somebody rang the bell and got $3,500. But I think that it's something where it makes it so that a boot has a little bit of spending money, because like the food that we provide is all organic but simple fare, and so some people are like, I want beef, and it's like, well, the boot, we don't provide that. But it's like, if you got your BEL funds, now you have all the beef you want. In fact, I remember when Des would ring the bell, he took everybody everybody here. He took them all out to a fancy dinner. And so it was like, I'm looking forward to the fancy dinner that's just around the corner. You get a little addicted to it. And so...
when I hit post number 700, we're hitting Scotty's table.
Okay.
Just for the record.
I like Scotty's table. In fact, you got to talk. I drink a lot of water in the morning. So got to get the system started.
And please apologize to Chris for me if you see him, because the cleaning blitz was supposed to start a half hour ago. Oh, holy smoke! It's already. Oh my God! But what I did want to mention is that I think that the bell is a tremendous gift to any of the boots. Whenever Paul was talking about, like, I want beef, I was like, no, me personally, I want coffee and pastries. And in fact, that's what I go into town every Saturday. I start off my day at one of the cafes in Missoula, and I go in there, I greet the ladies who have been working there for the past year that I've been going there. I grab a coffee, I grab a pastry, I sit down and I write a letter to a friend. Like I have a handful of different pen pals that I write to, but that's how I start my day. And the Bell Fund really does make that possible for somebody like me who I don't know, I just I need time away. It's part of my, me pushing my reset button and a little bit of my self-care. But that makes that sort of thing possible. I spend a lot of extra time thinking about what's going on at Wheaton Labs, and then my Saturdays are not beholden to anybody. It is just Stephen time. And again, the Bell Funds make that possible. So I really appreciate that they exist. So while you were away, Paul, I was yakking about coffee and pastries and how instead of beef, I go for the coffee and pastry.
Right. And did you mention Vera Donuts? I
didn't mention them by name.
Okay. All right.
I think everybody who's actually been here has heard me, sing the praises of Vera Donuts.
Yeah, Vera Donuts is amazing. All right. So the thing is that I think that the BEL is a great way, and then at the same time, for a while there, I was paying people to take video and make videos, and then it was take video, and you'd get paid. So you get paid to make the video, and then later it's like you're getting paid just to record it, and I think we're still doing that. If you just send the video, the raw video, to Andreas, then he will whip it up into a YouTube video, and we'll pay for that. But the pay is fairly humble still. If there was more support for the video Patreon, we might be able to bump that up a little bit. And every once in a while, somebody will just send me a bunch of money and say, I want to see more of the videos, and we will then feed that machine. But again, that's some money for the boots. Which I think is a really good way to do it. All right, so that's the BEL, which I think is a far more delightful way to do it than the BRK. And get it all to move forward.
Big shout out to Bo, who came up with the logo and everything for the Bell program. I thought it was super cool, and I think it was the shot in the arm that this gift to the boots really needed. So I really appreciate his efforts on that front.
Yeah, Bo's currently managing it and is just doing a great job. It's such a relief that it's because it got passed around from different people because the BRK was taking a lot of work for a person to kind of oversee it. And first there was the guy that invented it, and then it got passed off to another person, and then to another person, and another person, and as each one's like, I don't have the time for this much work, then it kind of, now with the BEL, it's really easy to manage. And so
tell that to Bo, and he'll be like, what?
Yeah.
Real easy? Let me get no.
So I got a note here to say that the spring summer crew was amazing, very giggly, lots of giggly. Oh, geez. How is it that they are, and I would hear the things that they would giggle at and be like, really? That's yeah. And Stephen, here he's getting started because it was all that shitty humor from Stephen.
Yeah.
And then they would then once they start giggling, they can't stop. And it was all day, every day.
There's some of the.
In my defense, I'm an old man, and I really appreciate puns. And the reason they call me Dad is not necessarily because, like Katie, the instructor from the PTJ, would be like, oh, he's looking out for everybody. That's why he's Dad. No. I am called Dad because all I know are dad jokes. And whenever you got to sell them. And I can sell dad jokes really well. And my deadpan game is pretty strong. And so people who are like, I get it, that's a joke, blah! Yeah, it works really well.
I think a lot of the giggles were based on, that was so bad.
Yes.
That was so awful.
Painful to listen
That
to.
was, yeah. Oh.
I loved it. Tell another one.
And then one person would giggle, and then another person would giggle because that person was giggling at something so bad.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're giggling at that, and then it was just some weird giggle factory. It just went on and on.
It was a self-reinforcing, beautiful mechanism.
Okay. All right. So that was the spring and summer crew. What a lot got done, and it was just fun. I'm glad I was here, when those guys were here. It was just a real good time. I have a note here about the boots have never had a lack of food, power, heat, etc.
That's one thing I brought up when we were talking about what to discuss during this podcast. And I have never been in a situation where Paul has said, oh, sorry, we got to tighten our belts. Can't do this, can't do that you're used to right now.
I don't know. I think there's been times that I've done that. And here, let me
okay, yeah.
I know that there's times when it's like, okay, Judy needs to be mended. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's just park Judy. it's going to be a few months.
Well, I mean, I guess that's different from what I was talking. Like, your basic needs are being met. Now, what you're talking about are some of the things that we would do during the boot day. Like boot tasks. If Judy is offline for a while, that's understandable. And like right now, Judy needs a fuel filter installed. And, we're going to take care of that as part of boot tasks on Monday. So we're going to give that a try, and maybe Judy's going to be working again after that. That'll be great. So we can haul water around, or we can pull stuff around. We can go pick up mulch because we'll have the dump trailer mobile again.
Yeah.
So but I'm talking about, like, man, it's cold in here. I've never been able to feel that and not remedy the situation. Man, I'm hungry. There's always food here.
Yeah, there's food.
There has never been a shortage of food for boots to eat. There's never been a shortage of places for them to sleep, or heat in the wintertime, or water when we want to take a shower. I know that during the summer events in the past, that hasn't always been the case, but it hasn't been the case for a long while. And with the well that's here, I doubt that's ever going to be an issue ever again. So the basic needs have always been met. So if somebody comes out here and thinks that they're going to be living, living in, like under a bridge type squalor, that's just not going to happen. It is a rural lifestyle, but we have incredibly fast internet. We have, we have power in the buildings that need it. We have heat every winter, every single day. The house barely ever goes below 65, I would say. I was about to say 70 degrees Fahrenheit, but 65 or colder is just unheard of in the wintertime. And that's after building a single fire a day, for 45 minutes. And I don't want to get into that because that's totally that dilutes the message here. But don't feel like you're going to be living in squalor, living in a chilly shack in the middle of the woods. That's just not going to happen.
You're going to be comfortable.
Absolutely.
I think another thing
is coming from a guy who likes to sleep in a tent in the wintertime.
Some people come here with a car, and some people don't. And I know that, like, when Dez arrived, he arrived with a car, and then he sold it, and he didn't have a car for a couple years. And but I think for a lot of people, you just don't need a car. And I think that if a person, we do have some people, sometimes it's like, I just want to go into Missoula for the day. And it's like, well, if you're willing to run 3 errands for, the boot camp, then you can take one of our rigs.
This rig.
And so usually that's not a problem. Now you're in Missoula and you can do Missoula things. And I don't know I know you love to go to Missoula every Saturday and you get your Vera donuts and other stuff. And but I get into Missoula and I get bored. I mean, I'll go to the good food store. It's a beautiful little grocery store, and sometimes I'll go to a natural grocer and pick up a little of this and that. But it's like, okay, I can do anything I want now. What do I want to do? Do I want to go to the library? It's a beautiful library in Missoula. There's a lot of beautiful stuff in Missoula, but it's like I'd rather go home. And I mean, like, what we have here is just rich. And then it's like, anyway, all right. The key is you don't need a vehicle. And if you feel like you want to go drive once in a while, I think we've been pretty good about that. Anybody who just feels, and then another thing is some people who don't have a vehicle, and there's somebody with a vehicle going into Missoula, they're like, hey, can I catch a ride with you? Can I go with you? And it's like that happens a lot. And so, I don't know. It just seems like when you live in a lot of cities, if you don't have a vehicle, you're kind of stranded. I mean, you could take the bus and stuff like that, but you really, everything is kind of designed for people who have a car. And I don't know. That's kind of and here everything is kind of designed so that you'll be perfectly comfortable here for months at a time without going anywhere. Mm-hmm. But if you wanna, that can be arranged, And so some people just want to go into Missoula, every once in a while. So, all right. Let's see. The next thing I have on here is the list of the special. We've got these theme weeks we're trying to do, and so September 15th to 21st is Harvest Week, and I think we're gonna. We just announced Harvest Week a week or two ago, and we already have, I think, 4 extra people coming for that.
Oh, very cool. Okay.
And so the funny thing is that we also announced Rocket Week, which is October 6th to 12th, and nobody has signed up for that. And I thought that for Rocket Week, we would fill up. And so basically with these theme weeks, the idea is rent one of our cabins for the week, or 2 weeks, or something like that, And then the boot camp is going to be trying to stick to projects that follow the theme for the week. And so for Rocket Week, I know that we're going to try and put some finishing plaster cob layers on the rocket mass heater down in the red cabin, which I think is looking weird as hell. But I don't know. It's an interesting experience.
Domination battle helmet is what it looks like. It's all it's missing is the cobra on the front of it.
Okay.
The asp. So once it gets a decent cover on it, it'll look okay.
Yeah. All right. So.
But I want to get an asp head stuck right on the front of it.
So that is an experiment that we will find out how, because we built it, during the PTJ, and so in the summer, so we don't know how it's going to do. We have to test it out this winter. But that's another thing, is if you're here during Rocket Week, it's just cold enough so that you could fire up a rocket mass heater in your cabin.
That's gonna be awesome.
And if you're here for a week, you could heat that space for a week, which happens to be a badge pit.
Ooh, nice one, yeah. And then
somebody's been stacking functions.
So Rocket Week, I know that we might build a new cob hat at Bartell's bunkhouse. I know that we might change the innards of the rocket mass heater at the Fisher-Price house. But I think, I don't know, I seem to recall that there's like 4 or 5 projects with maybe sauce on them. But the thing is with the theme weeks is that rather than, because like with the PTJ, here's a list of 20 things that we're going to try to get to during the PTJ. There will be 12 instructors, so 12 simultaneous builds. That's the PTJ. And with theme weeks, it's like the focus is on let's get our projects done. And let's get, because we have some needs. We need to get some things done, and they're not as racy and as exciting as what's offered during the PTJ. But some of the projects we're doing are finishing projects that were started during the PTJ. But it's all about what are our highest priorities in order to, and the bottom line is I get people who ask me what's the most important thing for all of the empire to get world domination, and I say we need to fill the boot camp. We need to get all these projects to have a stronger forward velocity. And the thing is that when you run a shitty school, and these things are built by people attending a shitty school, the forward velocity is always slow. But if you've got 12 boots, it's 12 times faster than if you have 1. And right now we're at 3. And so it's kind of like it would be lovely going into the fall to have, a dozen boots in the boot camp. And I'm not sure what I need to do differently to get that to happen. And of course, a lot of people say lower your standards, but frankly, tell me more about don't lower the standards.
Why bother lowering the standards when the rest of the world already operates with low standards?
That's a good point.
That's where I would be coming from, because I know the standards that you're talking about. You're talking about letting people smoke weed while they're here,
or tobacco,
And there are people who come here who are sensitive to that sort of stuff, whether it's trying to be in an environment where you're not breathing smoke, trying to be in an environment where you don't have that organic standard. I'm tired of people whining, honestly. I'm tired. I'm just tired of it, man. And I think having the standards and people adhering to those standards is about, again, like I have to come back to having values of, trying to be part of something that's bigger than just me, fulfilling my needs and my wants. Like there are bigger things in life than you and your life. And if you want the rest of the world to cater to you feeling better about yourself or getting away with all those same habits and things that make you feel good, like, this is not the place for that. This is not a place. It's like, I don't know where I'm going with this, man, but I'm just like, don't get rid of the standards, man. Because the people who come here realize, wow, I'm going to have to change my life in order to get to the next level, to help a community thrive, to have something bigger than myself succeed. Like, those are the things that come to mind when I hear about people complaining about the standards. It's like, if you don't like it, there's the rest of the world that can totally cater to you. Right. And I hate to tell people to hit the road. I do. And I had to do it earlier this year, and it was heartbreaking to tell somebody, no, you have to go. But they just didn't have it together. And they needed a lot more catering. Because of their situation, they needed a lot more like individual attention than we could offer. Because if we did, then everything else around here, it's almost like that would all have to come to a screeching halt whenever this person said so. And that's not cool. That's not how something like this is going to continue to move forward.
Right. Basically, we had to choose between that one person and, well, pretty much everybody else.
Yeah.
Either if we cater to the one person, everybody else is like, yeah, I didn't come here to be the person that caters to that one person. I'm not here to be a servant to some rando.
Now, this doesn't mean that you... So this does... Now, that was like somebody asking for an exception to your standards. And that's the thing that I would have an issue with.
Yeah.
Now, if from the get-go, certain standards weren't here, and... then that would be a different story, because then operations here would have to accommodate not having those specific standards. But since you have the standards in place now, and there are people that appreciate that and adhere to that, myself included, I think that it's okay to keep the standards, and I don't feel like it's cool. You talked about building resentments. I don't think it's cool if somebody's like, okay, except for me, we have to have all these standards. Like, I don't appreciate that at all.
So I kind of like I feel like some people have come and then they've done the separate program the whole time they're here, and so they rent a cabin, and they know exactly where they're going to be, and they'll be here for like 4 months, but they'll be in the boot camp like almost. The full 40 hours. And it's like, gee, it would have taken hardly anything to just be a boot and saved yourself a bunch of money. And it's like, no. They need that. And the separate program to them is like costs nothing. And it's just so cheap. And so then they're able to like join, be in the boot camp as much or as little as they like, even if as much as they like is the full 40 hours for a week or most weeks or something like that. They need this flavor of soul building. And if they ever want to just take a day off in the middle of the week, they can. They're a separate. They're just renting a cabin. And so that has been a very, very important ingredient, which I think for some of the people that have come here, and I think that you've specifically said that when, some people are like, I want to come back as a boot, then your words to me were, that person can come back. Glad to have them back as a sepper, because then the thing is that if they come up short as a boot, the other boots aren't feeling like this person isn't carrying their weight, and I have resentments about that. And so that's a good path. But I think most of the people that come into the boot camp respect that, and they put in their time. And granted, it's easy. I don't want to paint the picture of like it's so brutally hard that you're going to piss off everybody else in the boot camp. I mean, I think that there's some pretty obvious lines that you don't cross, and some people are like, well, you don't cross those lines, but I do, which is exactly what you're saying, and that had to
exactly where I had to go with this. I was like, if I let this one thing slide, word has already got out about this particular behavior, and the rest of the team, they were not going to do that. So it's like, as soon as I allow that to happen even once, then the rest of then that whole part of the boot camp is gone.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Mark. There are a lot of reasons to get angry these days, but I prefer to focus on the positive things that we each can do to make this world a better place. The book, Building a Better World in Your Backyard, Instead of Being Angry at Bad Guys, is a great resource for just that. Instead of throwing my arms up in frustration at governments or big corporations, there's a list of ideas that we each can tackle to affect change. Information about this book and other resources can be found at Permies.com.
So, Clay, you got something?
Yeah, that was a different direction. I was thinking, going back to what you said about the ability to take a break and the ability, that's really why I wanted to be a sepper. I planned on being in the boot camp and I think I was there all of the time, and I expected that, but I wanted the ability to hit the eject button without making waves. And so that's where I chose to be a sepper, because, oh, cool, I am simply renting a cabin. I am in the thread where you go to book your stay. It says you can sit there and watch the clouds pass if you want. That is an item you can do all day. Every day you're here. That is your prerogative.
I think that would get really boring, really fast.
Horribly boring. And I could, but it is nice to have the option. And so from my perspective, especially never having been here before this year, it was necessary for me to have that ability to walk away at any point that I wanted. And I didn't exercise that right, but having it made me feel so much more comfortable. And then going back to the standards a little bit, I agree. I think that when you are trying to create a community of non-related people from all walks of life, there has to be a baseline of here is our pattern of behavior. And when I think, Stephen, you said it really nicely, if you let the thing, whatever that thing is, you let the thing slide, other people know it. And maybe it's not everybody else in the boot camp, but you know it. You know that this thing is sliding. And that sort of thing eats at my soul. If I let myself allow my own standards or the standards of the organization slide, boy, I feel guilty. I feel kind of rotten, yucky. And that's, putting myself in the high commander's shoes. As a compatriot, as a fellow boot, if I'm to watch somebody, not slack off, that's not it. But if I'm to watch somebody break the rules in whatever sense, that would rub me the wrong way. And if that person is allowed to continue to break the rules without any sort of change, that would embitter me, and I might have so much resentment that I would need to walk away. Because if I'm being held to a standard, shouldn't everybody
Yeah.
And then eliminating the standards entirely, I think, doesn't serve the purpose of this place. You know, if you allow someone, for example, the tobacco argument, smoke cigarettes or have a lip in or whatever your thing is, if that's allowed here, okay, well, their waste is going in the willow cans, and their spit is going on the ground, and all of these things which violate an organic standard. Plus, now all of these other people are secondhand smoke or whatever the thing is.
I think the big one is when you sit down to a meal, sit next to somebody who's been smoking cigarettes, they smell horrible.
And some people like that smell. That's great. There are so many casinos that you can go and enjoy the smell of cigarette smoke. There are so many other places. This isn't that place.
Yeah.
This is an intensely organic, permaculture-focused, future-focused place. And we're talking about the future of the individuals, the health of the individuals here, but also we're building soil. This is a place that cares about the land, it cares about the community, and those standards are in support of all of the goals, and I think they're critical.
I agree. I don't want to do this without the standards. Yeah. I'm kind of being petty. I'm going to take my ball and go home, and it's like I just don't wanna. And it really, I mean, that's the foundation of it. But I mean, I can easily justify each of our standards.
Oh, sure.
No problem. But for the most part, I just don't wanna. And it's just that simple. And at the same time, in order to build community, it's like some people build community, and some people generally inadvertently destroy community. And I think killing community is pretty easy to do, but building community is almost as easy. And it's like and I kind of feel like that's a whole another podcast for another time. But there are some people that have come and they just have their way of like inadvertently. Oftentimes it's inadvertent, or they think, it shouldn't be a problem, and it's like, no, that's a big problem, and they're like, and if their response is, oh shit, I didn't think about it, but now that you say it and I think about it, okay, we can work with that. But if it's like, stop being a fucking whiner, then it's like, oh, I think we're all done here. And so I like to think that there are 200 people listening to this podcast right now who deeply appreciate these standards. And so, I would love to be able to, those 200 people, maybe sometime in the next 3 or 4 years, coming and being part of our community might happen. And that's why, I thought it would be good to record this podcast. Mm-hmm. Now, I kind of like the idea of the theme weeks being something where I love the idea of people who have skills and expertise show up and infect the boot camp with their skills and expertise. Like they're gonna rent a cabin for a week during one of our themed weeks. And granted, their skill set might be different than whatever the theme week is, or it might be the same. And they help us. They contribute. They move it all forward. And they, hopefully, by the time that they leave, they've given us something, and they've also picked up some things. And I don't know. I feel like spending a week out here, it's so different. I mean, when I first got here, there was a lot of people here, but it was like there wasn't much here. It's like all of these hugelkulturs out front, they were not here. It was solid rock right there. And at the lab, there was no Allerton Abbey, there was no Cooper Cabin, there was no teepee.
Yeah, there were some logging roads out there, right?
Sure. Of those. And it's like, and we had so many people out here back then, and now I feel like there's so much here. And it is delightful, and it is rich, and yet we don't have as many people coming out. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to say, like, please come out and learn more about us and hopefully help us to move forward, because I kind of feel like if you come out here during a theme week, you rent a cabin, you can join in the projects as much or as little as you want while you're here for a week, maybe 2. We used to get people that would rent one of our cabins for like 3 or 4 months, and it was usually a couple, and one of the couple would be like joining in the boot camp most of the time, and the other would be like doing a remote worky job. I thought those were great. Those were lovely, lovely people, and it was easy and delightful. And in a way, it was kind of a drag that they left. I do kind of wonder about, like, man, it would be wonderful if we had, in fact, I can't help but think, if we had 6 Allerton Abbeys that were 100% done and had gardens and everything, I imagine that we would have 6 Deep Roots people living in them.
Right.
Like, I know that there have been at least 5 people that have stood in this office, and I think that they would have parted with major coin to get that today. Turnkey. Just walk right in. And and so part of me is thinking, like, that would help to build community. That would be a thing that would be great to have. So, but that's another story for another day. Right now I'm trying to focus on, I think it would be great to fill the separate program. Like have people come out like what you guys have done, where you rented a cabin for a period of time, jumped into the boot camp during that time for as much as you were comfortable with, and then maybe eventually just join the boot camp full time. Why not? And or be like, I came and I got what I wanted, and now I'm going home. And you gave a little and you got a little. And it was a thing. But I think there's been a lot of people who have come back many times. Like they come here for a week or 2, and then or a month, and then they come back 2 or 3 times. I mean, I'm thinking of some people right now that have been here like 6 or 7 times. Julia, Elliot, Samantha, and there's people who come and go, and they just keep coming back. I mean, they've got a life somewhere else that they got to do, and but then it's like there's something that feeds their soul here. So, all right, the rest of the theme weeks we've come up with. So we've got Wafati Week is October 20th to the 26th. I think there's like 3 different projects that are scheduled for that. Roundwood Timber Framing Week, November 3rd through the 9th. And now, once we're into November, there's also the half-assed holidays mixed in there. Thanksgiving Week, the week of Thanksgiving. Junk Pole and Dog Fence Week. And so I think the dog pen up at the amazing Dog Star, that's like more than half done, isn't it?
I'd say it's at least 50% done. Yeah. During that week in particular, I'd love for us to be able to finish up the fence, and probably by the end of that week we'll be able to put a gate in. Yeah. And then before the end of the calendar year, that place will be fully functional.
Yeah. Because we get a lot of people who have a dog.
Right. Yeah, that's
we
the
have
thing. So like, there's a lot of folks who are like, yeah, I'd love to be here, except where can I put my dog during the boot time? Your vehicle. Chain it to the bumper or something, and that's no good for the dog. So, we've had some people who came here specifically to work on the dog pen because they keep dogs of their own and they want to be able to hang out and do whatever it is they want to do, but they also don't want to have to corral their dog in an uncomfortable spot just so they can take advantage of what's going on here. So that was the impetus behind the dog pen, and the little dog house is going to go in there.
It seems like 2 or 3 times a year we have somebody show up with a dog and they join the boot camp, and the dog just follows them, and the dog gets along fine with the cats, and the dog is just a sweet, sweet dog and never barks at anybody, and everything is easy. And so, but of course, there's some people where their dog is not that sweet, and it's like and so then having a place where the dog can hang out for the day is going to be a help for those people. We have some people too that have come here with cats. Like for example, Magdalene came with a cat, but I think after 5 months the cat disappeared, and I think. Yeah, if you let your cat out all day, every day. And I remember Magdalene's cat would come around and look at what everybody was doing once in a while. So it's definitely out. But it's like there's coyotes, there's mountain lions. So somebody saw a badger. Somebody saw... it's like a badger, but not Wolverine. A badger. A wolverine. Somebody saw a wolverine. And it's like, you could lose cats to those kinds of critters. But, I mean, it's rare. I mean, we still have a lot of cats outside right now. They're totally outside cats. In fact, Black Spark was clearly pregnant a week ago and is now clearly not pregnant. Has anybody figured out where she's hidden her kittens?
I think they are in the berm shed right now. Sometimes she'll go under the red cabin with her kittens, but right now they're in the berm shed.
Okay.
They're secreted somewhere back there behind a wood pile or whatever.
Right. I think
Who knows? But that's where she's been hanging out. She'll come up for breakfast, and then she'll disappear again. And whenever I'm moving around doing stuff, I'll see her hanging out in front of the classroom. So I suspect it's the berm shed. Now, her 2 kittens from her previous litter are hanging around up here just like all the rest of the cats, and they're eating solid food, and they're doing just fine.
Yeah. In fact, one of those kittens, Banjo, is my favorite now, and so and Banjo's like loves to be held and will purr, and whereas
had him blissed out yesterday.
Yeah, he was
on his back, arms stretched up like this, like he had his arms crossed. He was like, oh, let me just keep rubbing the belly. That's good.
And then the last theme week is Christmas week. And we do some fun things I think they're cool things for Christmas. But we've had some people here for our holidays in the past, and it was lovely. It was just so lovely. And I just enjoy the idea that we're going to have a lot of people here. I just think it would be terrific. And so Thanksgiving week as well as Christmas week and the other theme weeks. I think we're ready. We're more than ready to have. I mean, and I do think we're probably going to transition from build mode to more soily mode, especially now that we have full-time water on the lab, which I think that is a new thing as of a couple of days ago. Although. Yeah,
there was a hydrant that was out of commission, and Chris and I replaced it.
Yeah. So. And so we've got the well, and then there's a pump in the bottom of the well and a cistern, and it fills the cistern. And then we've got a pump that pressurizes the pipe so it can reach all the way to Cooper Cabin and all of the other little spots along the way. And it's like the only question that's left is the pump house going to be warm enough through the winter? We got some tracking thermometers in place, and we'll keep an eye on it and see. But I think we're all set now. We have year-round water on the lab. And so this is a brand new thing. And then the next thing is that we have the infinite water here at base camp, of course, which is so much nicer. We can irrigate as much as we want and build soil. And so eventually we won't have to irrigate it all. But for now, it's just nice. But the other thing is that when you're trying to start seeds, and I want to transition away from so many annuals and towards a lot more perennials, and we have a lot of apple trees. We have tons of apple trees. In fact, this is a good time to mention, although I feel like that's a whole other podcast, that giant apple tree out back this year produced probably 40 pounds of apples.
Yeah, a single tree.
And it's from seed, and it's a big ass tree, and it looks like it is now ready to do like 400 pounds next year. Like it is, very happy. And
then I'll know how to actually can applesauce. And we're going to try a couple different recipes, too.
Instead of just eating it.
Yeah.
Look, I made applesauce. Now I'm going to eat it.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. So, but like out in front of the house, we have tons of apple trees and from seed, lots and lots and lots of stuff that we started from seed. And there's so much more, a lot of apricot trees from seed, not an apricot yet. And so, but
plum trees were those from seed? The plum trees?
2 of the plum trees that are down there in the turtle lot, I believe, have tags on them showing that, and I didn't buy them. I don't know where they came from. I imagine years ago somebody planted them and they probably told me, I'm like, oh, that's cool. Thanks. You're so cool. And I have since forgotten. And but we had a lot of people showing up with trees for many years, sticking them in all kinds of places. Like that fucking Siberian pea shrub. Shit. I kept hoping it would die, but it keeps staying alive.
I think it's holding that corner together pretty well. So why don't you let that thing keep doing what it's doing?
Kind of like the dude's rug.
Yeah, really tied the hoogle together, yeah.
So, the next thing I need to do probably today is start contacting ringers. And so, and we'll announce them as we get them lined up over the daily-ish. So if people are really into this. But I'm just kind of hoping, I'm just asking. It would be delightful if people, fill the separate program this fall and winter, rent the cabins and prove that the theme week idea is a great idea.
A question for you, Paul. How many cabins do you have? How many bunks would you say are available for these seppers to come?
I would say a couple dozen bunks at least. I think I once tried to count and it was over 30. Okay. But, Cooper Cabin has 4 bunks. There's Cooper Cabin. The teepee has basically one weird shaped bunk that sometimes 2 people can do if they really like each other. Allerton Abbey, I don't know if it's currently got a substantial bed in there. It used to have a couple bunks there. I don't know if they're active right now. They're there. Yeah. Okay, so a few bunks. The Amazing Dog Star, and it's named after Amei Zhang. That's his actual name, Amazing, the Amazing Dog Star. And then Bartell's Bunkhouse. We have a couple of other very rough cabins that people could try to stay in if they really are desperate, but I don't recommend it. I think so. It's 5 cabins on the lab, right? And then at base camp, then there's like the bunk room. There's the solarium has 6 bunks. The bunk room has 4 bunks. The solarium has 6 bunks. The red cabin, which has 2 bunks, and I think the Love Shack has 2 bunks, doesn't it?
Correct. Yep.
And so that's 4. What am I for? We could talk about the couch balcony, and it always baffles me that people like to stay on the couch balcony. What a weird, but I want to stay on the couch balcony. It's like, really? So at least in the wintertime, they're going to keep the shop warm.
You could say the tent pads here at base camp. I mean,
true.
That's what I do. Even on Christmas Day. I'll be up there at the tent.
But the question is about the separate program and cabins.
Well, I mean, did I leave anything out? Does include tents.
Yeah, I was thinking you could rent tent pads.
I think we're going to phase that out.
Oh.
Yeah, I think especially for the theme weeks, we're not doing tent pads. For the theme weeks, it's like, okay, rent a cabin for this much money, and then, and I do know that everything in the separate program is a minimum price of $250, And that's, well, although I got to say that the squirrel bunks are $225, but this is to be respectful to the boots in the boot camp who pay $100. Like, I don't want anything in the separate program to be too cheap, because the boots are committing to putting in 40 hours a week, whereas the seppers, they're going to take it easy. They can be in as much or as little as they want, but it's still, by today's standards, to do $250 for a week in a cabin, even though it's a humble cabin, it just seems like that's really dirt cheap. And I also got to say, and I'm looking at Stephen at this, it's like we earn that $250, and so there's all the stuff that the online folks do to facilitate the person, and it can be a lot. It can be an enormous amount of work that we have to do, because people have like a lot of questions which are all online, but they're like, I don't want to go read online. I want you to answer each one via email, and I'm going to, turn it into, what are my, I want a menu of 57 options, please. And so now, granted, not everybody's like that, but it's like, oh, we earn that money. Then of course there's, guiding people here, prepping, and it's a fair bit of work. There's a fair bit involved. So on the other hand, we've had some really great seppers here, and so it's, in the end, it's worked out to be well worth doing the sepper program. The thing is that I want to move everything forward. And if people are thinking like, I want you to finish the project of the lemon tree site, the outdoor lemon tree site, or I want you to finish the freezer wafati project, or I want you to finish all these other projects, the community project. How do you get 20 people to live under one roof without stabbing each other? All of these projects, and there are tons of these projects, and proving the food systems and things like that, and there's so many, the chicken breeding, the thing about cattle, the thing about all these systems and systems and systems and systems and systems, and it's like that comes with people. And in order to be able to accomplish all of these things, and we have a lot of projects that we do that nobody else in the world has ever done before. And there are a few projects, we were kind of talking about this at one of the summer events, and I was saying that there are some things that I've done that have worked so well, have been so broadly accepted, that I'm now nobody in that area. But when I put my information up, it was the only information on the internet at the time. So when I put up my cast iron article, there were no cast iron articles on the internet. There was nothing. It was just shit. And so I made my cast iron videos, and I made my cast iron article, and it was the only thing on the internet at the time like that. And of course, and that was in 2006. And now everybody's bonkers about cast iron. And so I've just stepped back. I'm all done. And I thought that's how I was going to go with rocket mass heaters. I'm a little surprised it hasn't gone that way with rocket mass heaters, but I'm looking forward to being a nobody in the world of rocket mass heaters, because it just takes off. Hugelkultur. When I posted my Hugel, there was nothing on the internet about Hugelkultur. Nothing. You search, and it's like, I don't even know what that word is. I've got nothing. I've got zero. And so I wrote the very first Hugelkultur article. Now, tons of people are doing Hugelkultur wrong. And we've talked about making videos, a series of videos. Like, I've got ideas for like a dozen little videos about basically saying how you're doing Hugelkultur wrong, but if we had more people here, we could get those things done. I kind of feel like the separate program is a great way to get all these things done. And I know we've got somebody who's talking about renting Cooper Cabin for all of December to get the BB for heating it. And so that's coming up. And so there's a lot of BB stuff, the SKIP program. And in fact, I've mentioned this in previous podcasts. There's people who get BBs during the week, during the boot camp. It's like they're in the boot camp, then we're going to go work on like a piece of junk pole fence or something, and then they're like, can I get one section to do myself? because I want to get the BB. And then Stephen says, yeah, sure.
Please do it, yes.
Yeah. And then, but there's, I don't know, it seems like there were a lot of people that felt like they could get 2 or 3 BBs a week during the boot camp. And then, and of course, if you're here with a sepper, as a sepper influences what the boot camp works on while the sepper's there. And then they don't say what's going to happen, but they can suggest, and a lot of times we can make that happen, and sometimes we can't. And so, but I would say that we've provided a lot of guidance in that space. In fact, we had a sepper here last week, I think it was, and she wanted to run the solar food dehydrator with rocket assist. And so we're like, okay. We got a lot of apples, and so let's go grab some apples, and we will put them in there to dry. And she seemed pleased as punch. And so, but anyway, all right. Mostly this podcast was about Stephen's story and how he came to be in the boot camp. And I kind of feel like there's a lot of stories out there. And I am frankly a little angry that the boot camp is currently not full, and we have a waiting list of 200 people. We have a so-called waiting list filled with about 200 people, but they're all busy with other things, and they don't want to come out right now. It's like, okay. So there's spaces in the boot camp right now, but I also kind of would love to see a lot of the people coming out in the sepper program. I would really love to see some of those people who would rent a cabin for like 3 months and join the boot camp, you know, and they've got like a worky job or something, or their spouse has a worky job or whatever. And those were great. When those people went down the road, it was 5-star reviews all around. And so I think that was really good. I'd like to see some more of that. All right. Anything else for this podcast, fellas? Oh.
I do want to say one thing. Paul, thank you once again for your generosity and for the opportunity for me being here. This definitely has been a life-changing experience for me, and I'm grateful for it every day. Clay, thank you for being here. I love you, brother. You were one of the people who built that structure for me. Podcast people, they built a building for me to let me know how much they care. So thank you to them, and thank you to you, Clay, for being part of that crew. It was a wonderful gift for me. And I every time I look at it, I'm like, I can't wait to take a shit in there. So that's all I wanted to say.
The building is a willow feeder.
For the record.
Yeah, just to be clear.
It's intentional.
That's not like an editorial comment that he's putting inside this building. So, a bunch of people got together and built Stephen a willow feeder because now he's got his acre, and it's you don't want to have to make that long walk to that next willow feeder. So, all right. Yes, you're welcome. I do think that I think that there's a lot of opportunity here that I'm providing, but and I do get people who write to me or whatever and say that I'm a piece of shit, and that's why there's nobody here, because I'm such a wicked and evil piece of shit, and it's like, you know what? They are 100% correct. Based on their standards, it is true. And then we're back to standards. But I think that, anybody who's like listened to a bunch of my podcasts and has, made it more than 2 minutes into a podcast, I think that they're probably going to be able to tolerate my wickedness, whatever that might be, and they might actually appreciate that person thinks I'm a piece of shit, because that person's standards are probably not the standards of the pod people. And so and I think really that's where it all lies. Those people are saying you're a piece of shit, and I'm kind of thinking to myself, like, Thank you for alerting me that our standards are that different. And I can see what you mean by your standards, and no, thank you. I've got mine. I'm going to stick to mine. But I'm glad we had this chat, and I'm sorry that you couldn't express yourself a little bit more eloquently. And so I do think, though, that there are a lot of people who would share these standards that we have here and would love. Their living here would be delightful, or even just visiting for a week or two. And so, and that's another thing too, is like once you're here for a bit of time as a sepper, that is a way to slide right into the boot camp if you want, which is what Stephen did. And so I don't know. Once you're the high commander, you can pick any cabin you want to stay in, but you still want to stay in your tent. And it's just like, that's weird.
Love it. I love tent life is the best life. Especially when cats come and visit you. It's so great. So great.
In order to be able to get world domination at this point, the number one thing we need is seppers and boots. And I know that sounds weird, but that's the way it is. I mean, I think that the PTJ is another way to get world domination, because we get projects done, and then but really it's the boots that get the bigger projects done, the longer term stuff. They get those things done, and then that turns into videos or Kickstarter projects or whatever. And I think it's fascinating that you found us through Kickstarter, and it's like, boy, we're going to keep doing some Kickstarters. Yeah. But I kind of feel like it's about the projects. If you don't do the projects, you don't have the materials to make a Kickstarter or make a YouTube video or make a podcast. And it's like and I think we're doing more than just homesteading. We're doing so much more than just homesteading. I think we're discovering a lot of new territory, and we have our hits and misses. And but boy, I think our ratio of hits is much greater than most places. I think we're doing really, really good. And so I don't know, and I think some people really groove on this mentality. And I would apparently I mentioned this in a previous podcast. It would be great to be able to have some people come up who have scientific rigor, who want to be here for at least a year. It would be great to have one person who has real good scientific rigor that wants to do the annualized thermal inertia test in Allerton Abbey starting in June. That would be terrific. Anyway, all right. Anything else, fellas? If you like this sort of thing, come on out to the forums at permies.com, where we talk about the SEPR program, homesteading, and permaculture all the time.
In a world on the brink of social collapse, one website stands above the rest to fight back the zombie horde of corporate trolls. Permies.com. Take back control of your destiny and protect your loved ones from the toxic gick coming at you from all directions. Strap on your overalls and start building that bunker of abundance with the good vibes and friendly, helpful insight found at Permies.com.